Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at an Inteleon V deck. Except, it's not just an Inteleon V deck. Now, I'm calling it Inteleon V with ZACIAN, but even that is selling it a little bit short. There are actually 3 different Stage 2 lines in this one deck, along with ZACIAN. It is one of the weirdest, most complex decks we've seen in terms of just having a messed up Pokemon line, and it is a deck that really gives me hope that going forward into a Sword and Shield metagame, we are going to be able to have a nice varied range of decks viable. So starting off then, Inteleon. Inteleon's got a nuts ability that lets you, when you evolve up into it, search your deck for 2 trainer cards and put them into your hand. It gives you a ridiculous amount of consistency. And it is worth noting that the Stage 1 Drizzile, from which it evolves, has the same ability but for 1 trainer card. I.e. when you evolve into Drizzile, you get to search your deck for any 1 trainer card. Inteleon, you get to search for 2. Now, Inteleon does have a nice little attack. 1 water, 1 colorless energy, 120 damage, plus 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It's fine. It's not amazing, but we do play enough energy here that we can actually use this attack. And really, this is where you're hitting for water weakness. We've got 4 different types of Pokemon in this deck. Being able to hit a water weakness, that could be fun. Now, I said it was Inteleon ZACIAN, and ZACIAN is, at least it very much looks at this early stage, like it is going to be the very best Pokemon in the format. Basic Pokemon, 220 HP, and for free energy it does 230, but it can't attack next turn, which didn't stop a million other Pokemon in the past and won't stop this. Now, the other thing is, it's got an ability that essentially lets you put the top 3 cards of your deck in your hand, but if any of them are metal energy, you can attach them to ZACIAN. Now, especially if you go first and you're not allowed to attack on your first turn, this is just broken. It means you should get that turn 2 Brave Blade pretty easily. Plus, we're going to be using Metal Saucer, which is just the metal equivalent of Aqua Patch, and between Metal Saucer and the ability here, Intrepid Sword, it's pretty gosh darn likely that Brave Blade is going to be coming out fast and coming out often. So Inteleon's getting you all of the trainer cards you need to go through the game, and ZACIAN's sitting there smashing. But I did promise you there were 3 Stage 2s in this deck. Well, we have a couple of others. One of them is Incineroar, another Pokemon of which I'm incredibly fond. Now, you can use this to attack hitting for fire weakness. 90 damage for 2 energy is fine. But really here it's for the ability Strong Cheer. All of your Pokemon's attacks do an extra 30 to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, even though we're playing a 2-0-2 line here, we're not allowed to stack this. You can have 2 Incineroar on the field, but you still only do an extra 30 damage. You never get to do an extra 60. But now all of a sudden Inteleon's doing 150, and now with weakness it is enough to KO Reshiram and Charizard. It wasn't without the Incineroar ability. And now all of a sudden, instead of hitting 230, ZACIAN is hitting for 260. Which means it's now KOing not all, but a fair few Tag Team GXs. It's KOing stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom, for instance, that it wasn't before. And it's KOing all the Pokemon V, and all of a sudden things are looking a lot better. And because we're mucking around with Stage 2s anyway here, we are playing Meganium. And Meganium, now again, you can use the attack to hit 110 on a Grass Weak Pokemon. And to be fair, right, Inteleon hits for Water Weakness, Incineroar for Fire Weakness, Meganium for Grass Weakness, ZACIAN for Metal Weakness. You're actually able to hit 4 different weaknesses in this deck, which is cool. But really, it's here again for the ability. The ability basically just lets you evolve one of your basic Pokemon straight into a Stage 2. You don't need to use Rare Candy, you don't need the Stage 1, And it doesn't even have needed to have been down for a turn. You can literally go Litten straight into Incineroar and evolve it up straight away. Now it all depends on your opening hand, what you draw, etc. But there's going to be quite a lot of the time here where you're aiming for Meganium first, so that you can then go and get your Inteleon and Incineroar faster. Though do remember, if you go straight from SOBBLE to Inteleon, you do miss Drizzar's ability allowing you to search for a trainer card. You have been warned. Now in terms of the energy, things are getting a little bit spicy here as well. Generally speaking, we're using Metal Energy because, make no mistake about it, ZACIAN is very much our main attacker, and you've got both the ability and Metal Saucer that you need to use the basic energy for. But then we play 4 copies of Aurora Energy. Think of it like Rainbow Energy, but instead of taking a damage counter when you attach, you have to discard a card from your hand. If you can't discard a card, you don't get to play it. And then we have a copy of Super Boost Energy. When it is attached to a Stage 2, it is any energy. But if you've got 2 other Stage 2s in play, i.e. 3 in total, it is 4 of any energy, which means that Inteleon's attack becomes a single energy, Incineroar's attack becomes a single energy, and even Meganium's fairly ridiculous attack becomes a single energy. And all of a sudden, 4 energy 110, which is inarguably expensive, actually becomes viable because you're just attaching a single energy. And of course, Meganium is going to make it way more likely that you've got multiple Stage 2s out in the first place. Now, in terms of our trainer cards here, because we can search them out of Inteleon, we need them, etc., we got 4 copies of Rare Candy. Rare Candy is really important. Yes, I know you can use Meganium to skip Rare Candy, but firstly, you need Rare Candy to get Meganium out. Secondly, you need Rare Candy if Meganium is not out. And if you've got Meganium out, brilliant. Just use Rare Candy as your fodder to use Aurora Energy. Sorted. This is one of those decks that is really benefiting from the new Pokemon search cards we've got. Quick Ball to get your basic, also got to discard a card from your hand to play this one. Evolution Incense to get your evolution Pokemon. Between the two of them, you've got all the speed and consistency you need in terms of getting your Pokemon out. We got 4 copies of Metal Saucer, which I keep mentioning is pretty great. And we got 2 copies of Balloon here. It reduces your retreat cost by 2, especially important for ZACIAN V, because remember you cannot attack 2 turns in a row with that. So attack with it, free retreat with Balloon, and attack with something else. Maybe even another ZACIAN V. In terms of our stadium here, we're actually going Shrine of Punishment. And this is a slightly risky play nowadays, because it does drop 1 damage counter on each Pokemon EX and GX between turns, but it does not drop damage counters on Pokemon V or V Max. And there are a bunch of those running around. Like I've said, Zacian's probably at least it's the best attacker from Sword and Shield. It's phenomenal. So there are going to be plenty of V decks you play against where this doesn't really do very much, but also your attacks are not always doing quite enough. I mean, let's say for instance, you've got an Incineroar out, Zacian's doing 260, which isn't enough to KO something like a Reshiram and Charizard, or a Mewtwo and Mew, but now with Shrine of Punishment you are. It's not that you desperately need this in every single matchup, it is that this allows you to hit the numbers. Going from 260 to 270, for instance, is absolutely huge. And then in terms of supporters here, we got Professor Magnolia. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. It's the fastest, most aggressive supporter we've got in the format. And a couple copies of Marnie lets you and your opponent shuffle your hand, pop them on the bottom of your deck. You draw 5, your opponent draws 4. It's nice for a little bit of disruption and as a little bit of draw power. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, this is an extremely good deck. And it's risky and it's weird and it's awkward and it's got 3 different stage 2 lines and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's still a Zacian deck, and Zacian is amazing. And then you got all these really good stage 2s as well. Inteleon for consistency, Incineroar for the extra damage, Meganium to get your stage 2s out, and then of course you've got the option to actually be hitting weakness on 4 different types. That sounds like something we should be having a play with. But I'd like to know what you think about this deck, ladies and gentlemen, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.